Teddy Gray in the building. My name is Teddy Gray, and this is my Stray Kids tier list. Please bear in mind that this is a tier list of the songs that I've reacted to so far. So if there are any that are missing in here that, you know, you've heard or that you would put in your list, I just haven't heard it yet. But of course, on this channel, I will be going through absolutely everything there is to go through. Before we start, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's a patron on Patreon. You guys are making dreams come true. I genuinely cannot thank you enough. If you would like to join the Patreon, I'll leave the link in the description, and you can join it at your own leisure. So I thought it'd be appropriate to kick it off with Freeze. Now, Freeze was my introduction to Korean music. I'd never heard anything before that. The dubstep, you know, completely took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that. I just wasn't expecting that at all. The nearest thing that I'd ever heard to K-pop was probably Gangnam Style.
Broken Condom Style.
I think I've heard about 5 seconds of a BTS song on Fortnite. That's it. That's all. I would like to point out that the reason why I like this song is not just for the bintro. You know we love a good bintro though. So this song starts off quite, you know, fast tempo in the beginning. Starts off with rap lines from Binnie, Hyunjin, Han. I remember the first time I saw the video to that, and I genuinely looked at Han and thought, he looks cheeky. He looks like the prankster of the group. I immediately enjoyed the transition from like a hip hop beat to dubstep. As soon as that drop came, it just transported me back to when I was listening to dubstep heavily in like 2009, 2010. And of course, it was the first time that I ever heard Changbin's ad-libs. I also enjoyed Seungmin's vocals carrying us over to the drop. It was the first time, obviously, that I was, you know, listening to anything from Stray Kids. So it was the first time that I was introduced to Felix's deep voice. His vocal depth is something that is a continuation throughout Stray Kids music, but was very, very striking from the offset. So, not just because it was the introduction to Stray Kids for me personally, but this has genuinely been a song that I've listened to again and again and again. So, for that reason, it has to go up in God tier. Has to. It just has to. I've listened to it so much. And that for me displays how much I enjoy a song and, you know, where I would rank it. If I listen to it a lot, of course I'm going to rank it highly, you know? So, Freeze, God tier. Okay, so next we have Venom. Now, off top, beat was insane. Absolutely insane. It genuinely felt like I was trapped in a game of Snake on a Nokia 3210. It just felt like you were going round and round in circles. The wrapped around your fingers chord progression in the chorus from Seungmin was incredible. I loved it. And then, of course, Bang Chan did it the second time round. I think that was the first time that I'd heard them sort of do a back and forth. And then I realised that that became a continuation within Stray Kids music as well. Seungmin and Bang Chan, their voices work so well together. They do that a lot. I also like in this song that Hyunjin, he matched Felix's vocal depth. I think that was one of the first instances that I'd heard Hyunjin do that, but it was just more striking for me personally on that type of record, just because it was such a dark record, I feel. I remember listening to it the first time round. I didn't really understand the subject matter. A few people said that it was aimed at like relationships. A few people said that it was a song about work ethic. Now, for me personally, there were some parts of the song that I enjoyed, but for the most part, it was a lot of confusion. I would have to put this into solid effort, because I feel like it was a solid effort. They put a message across and they attempted something different with the beat. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me. However, for me, I'm saying it was a solid effort. Next up on the list is Cheese. Cheese is a song that is dedicated to their haters. Now, I'm sure there aren't many of them. Why would there be? But this song is dedicated mainly to them. The flow is very mainstream. It's quite corny. Perhaps that's done on purpose. I have no idea. Felix had a verse after the chorus that was incredibly unorthodox, and I really enjoyed that.
Why'd you say it like that?
However, they did list a bunch of cheeses. That actually happened.
Cheese.
It's so on brand for Stray Kids to do, but it was so weird. It's sort of the same thing with Venom. It definitely wasn't my favourite drop. I also don't particularly like the repetition of yeah in the chorus. Yeah, 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 yeah. It felt very on brand for Stray Kids as I knew them then and definitely as I know them now. But it just wasn't one for me. I still appreciate what it did. I still appreciate the fact that it was directed to their haters. And I like the fact that they didn't take the song too seriously, even though it was aimed at those hating on them, you know? I like that. However, for me, appreciate. Next up on the list is We Go. I've only included this because it was on their compilation In Life. Possibly my favourite compilation, mixtape, album, project put out by Stray Kids to date. Possibly my favourite. I don't know. Until Heyday came out like almost 2 weeks ago, this was my favourite song by 3RACHA. We Go. Changbin's flow in this is so good. It's so direct as well. The staccato that he's hitting just every single syllable. You can feel it. Feel it, Navidad. Changbin's rap line, incredible. Also, he says the word beanie a bunch of times. And before I started wearing this cap, I was known for wearing the beanie. Beanie, 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 beanie. Changbin is practically talking to me now from the past. Who's trying to tell me he's not an alien? Bruh. Also, at the end of We Go, the distorted, heavily auto-tuned vocals that run throughout. For all those reasons, it is, of course, going straight to the top of God tier. It's going to the top. It's going all the way to the top, the peak. Okay, next up is Maniac. Now for me, this is one of the most intense beats. The vocals that lay underneath the chorus, they were perfect. And there were 100% elements of dancehall in the beat. I definitely liked how they utilised Felix's voice throughout this. Frankenstein. It fit that perfectly. They also had many references to weather patterns. So whether it be volcano, tornado, or thick as fog, they had many references to the weather. Things of an uncontrollable nature. So that was, of course, what they were alluding to with this song, I believe. For me personally, Maniac isn't one of those tracks that I can go back to and listen to again and again. I enjoyed it, but it is what it is. So for that reason, it goes in fire. Now, next, God's Menu. Again, not just for the bintro, the choreography was on point, the videography too. I still cannot get that dance move that Han does. I can't get it out of my head. It is there forever. The transitions from the bridge to the hook, they were perfect.
Because we're one of a kind.
I believe it's the first instance that I'd heard of Felix being used to bring the tone down. So after there's been like a huge drop and there's huge energy within the song, Felix's deep voice and depth in vocality is used to bring that down. And I also love how Felix was responsible for bringing the tone down after the first beat drop.
I'm a 5-star Michelin.
But then at the end was responsible for the drop. And that was the final drop. So that was like the... Of all of the songs that I listened to from Stray Kids, this song in particular is probably the one that stuck in my head the most and for the longest time. So, of course, for those reasons, and so many more, it has to go in God tier. It goes with the name, God's Menu, God tier. It's the sort of symmetry that I feel Stray Kids would love. Next up, we have My Pace. Now, of course, this was a song about how they are at a level that nobody else can compete with. They feel as though they are competing with themselves. For me personally, the best part about My Pace was how angry Changbin's vocals were throughout the whole record. He was genuinely so angry that nobody can keep up with them. And I love that. Changbin shouting, nah, 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 nah. It gets me every single time. However, the bridge wasn't as effective in this song. And usually Stray Kids are so good with bridges that it actually made me quite sad that this one was subpar, in my opinion. In my opinion. And I feel like the drop would have been better if it was heavier, like dubstep, or some heavier synths were used. I just feel like it needed an 808 to sort of cut through it, because it seemed like such an angry record, and yet the beat didn't reflect that. And usually that's not what I get from Stray Kids. The beat felt very fractured from the vocals and the overall message. For me personally, this track isn't for me. I don't really want to say that about a Stray Kids song. However, I have to be truthful to me and my own tastes. This personally, this doesn't do it for me. It's fine. For me, it goes in the not for me. Ah, yes. Boxer.
Boxer.
So the bridge here was incredibly unique, with a delicate use of auto-tune again, and I like that they actually used a boxing bell in the beat. So you heard the ding. I really like that personally. I like that it was a nice touch. I like that the title went with the song. There was a running theme throughout the vocals, the subject matter, the lyrics, and the beat. I understand the reason why it might have sounded unique is because Voldemort was on the bridge, but he did a hell of a job. Let's face it, they all ran along the same flow throughout, and they all fused together to create a synergy that some Stray Kids songs don't have, but this one did. This one did. And also Felix was used repeating lines again, another continuation throughout Stray Kids music.
Gotta go. Don't no beat. Gotta go.
For me personally, I'd have to throw this in the fire. Next up we have The Tortoise and the Hare. In my opinion, this track has the best rap lines. And I don't mean that just because of Changbin and Han. I mean also Hyunjin, alright? Stood out completely in this record. From the get-go. The overall message was clear, but there was so much more to it. Like, when you go through the lyrics of this track, it's like an onion. There's just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. We may never get to the end of it. The representative lines of the hare and the lines of the tortoise were completely the wrong way round. So the ones from the perspective of the hare were done slowly, and the ones from the perspective of the tortoise were rapped incredibly fast, which to me personally just said that it's all a mind state. Even though the tortoise in his head is rapid, in real life, slow, it doesn't matter. He still ended up winning the race. It's all a mind state. The drums used were perfect, and it gave me the feel of watching a race. But then with the distortion within the raps in the beat, it was almost like you were watching a race, but you were able to get inside of the head of the hare or the head of the tortoise and really know what they were thinking and feeling. Also, Han perfectly encapsulated how a hare would sound if it was rapping on a beat. He was so fast. He literally sounded like a machine gun. And also, how can we forget? It was the birth of... I know, you know, we know, they know. So, for those reasons, and again, many, many more, it has to go in God tier. And as we are fast approaching winter, it's time for Christmas Evil.
Merry Christmas.
So this is the first anti-Christmas or anti-winter song that I've ever heard in my life. I'm a fan. Seungmin's vocals before the bridge. Mwah. Felix rapping jingle 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 all the way.
Jingle, jingle, jingle all the way.
It came perfectly with the drop. And also with the chorus when they say crossing out Xmas, they could have said Christmas as it's the same amount of syllables, but they chose not to. Now I think they said Xmas because X, crossing out. Also, Felix Navidad hit me like a ton of bricks and I was not ready for it. For these reasons, I am throwing this in the fire. Next up, Maze of Memories.
I'ma look back to the future in fact.
Now the chord progression running on the piano throughout this beat, mwah, chef's kiss, perfection. I feel like they're a lot more focused on this type of beat. With a piano, the simplicity of it means that they can break free with their vocals. They seem a lot more focused, you know? But then the guitar and the violin samples come in and they seem a lot more unstructured, which I do like. Felix and Bang Chan's Australian accents. How can you not like that?
Life is like a debt or an open vet.
Also, another delicate use of auto-tune with the
Never give up. Never give up.
It sounded great, and it gave it a nice little ending. For me, personally, this has to go in God tier.
Calling out for help on this carousel.
Next up, Double Knot. Now the flows that were used in this, they were very unique, especially against the simplicity of the beat in the beginning. The back and forth from each rapper, incredible. I've said it many times on this channel. I love it when the artists go back and forth. I'll do a bar, you do a bar, I do a bar, you do a bar. And Stray Kids fuse people together so perfectly. They're great at it. They chant Stray Kids in the chorus. Even the drop was very, very subtle. I believe though that was in order for us to really pay attention to the lyrics. And the overall message was beautiful. It was don't give up. And the reason you don't give up is because you set yourself up properly to not fall. Hence the double knot. For me personally, I'm throwing it in the fire. Jesus, I knocked myself out. It's going in the fire. Okay, next is Hellevator. Again, not just for the bintro. He also, instead of using yaw, he uses nah. This might honestly be their most mainstream sounding drop to date, but the bridge and the chorus were done beautifully. Now this was a debut for them. Me personally, if I'd have heard this when it first came out, and that was my introduction to Stray Kids, I would have probably delved into it a little bit more and followed the journey. It was a very, very good introduction and a solid effort in terms of a debut. So, for that reason, solid effort. Okay, guys, it's time for Red Lights.
I cannot breathe.
Now, full disclosure, here at Teddy Gray on Stuff, I peel back the curtain of the reacting channel and give you everything, completely bare naked, okay? I wrote notes for every single one of these songs that I've done so far. In the notes for Red Lights, all I have is this: Bang Jin. Chan may have banged Jin. I shouldn't believe it. That's just insight into where my head was at as soon as I heard Red Lights. Again. This song genuinely should have been on the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack. Side note, I was thinking about dropping 50 Shades of Stray t-shirts. Imagine. When they both sang Make You Feel My Love in falsetto, it was beautiful. They also vocalised the sub-dom act perfectly. Bang Chan obviously being the dominant, Hyunjin being the sub. But then in the end, it was almost like Hyunjin became the dominant and Bang Chan became the sub. Then I started to go back, went through the whole track again, And I had to listen to it without the video for obvious reasons. And it felt like that was what they were doing with the song. They were trying to reverse roles. And since many people have told me that it was about work ethic and, you know, them feeling like they're working too hard but they can't stop, it's almost like they wanted to reverse the roles and they wanted to stop. But they couldn't. It was taking over them. This is one of my favourite tracks done by singular members outside of the group dynamic. I've always been a lover of R&B, and this was perfect. It's definitely the sort of beat that Party Next Door or The Weeknd, somebody like that would be on. It's such a beautifully made record. I know a lot of people were sort of apprehensive about me watching the video or hearing that as a song or seeing them in that light, but it was great. I loved it. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I loved it. For that reason, God tier. Okay, Miro. Of course, I'm going to be talking about Changbin's verse leading up to the drop. It was so perfect. The joint chant at the beat drop. Well, it was like a football chant. It was like being in the middle of Old Trafford, or the Etihad, or stood at Cop End in Liverpool. Whoever you support, be there. He also chanted Stray Kids in the chorus again. However, for me, it was a very I'm paralytic at the nightclub in Ibiza kind of beat. And those beats, they're not for me. They're not my cup of tea personally. I'm not a huge fan of them. I've never been somebody that enjoys going out clubbing. So those sorts of beats are okay, but they're not really for me. The drop itself wasn't underwhelming. So, for that reason, I appreciate it. Okay, Thunderous. Again, not just for the bintro. I love the almost conversational transition in between the beat switch. That to me was brilliant. It's one of my favourite overall messages too. This for me is everything that Cheese should have been. This is more of a fuck you to the haters. Because they're basically saying, yeah, okay, you called us noisy. We'll show you noise. We'll have cars honking. We'll have little spaceship noises. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And in this particular track, there are a lot of hidden gems. Freezing cold, but I know. Since this whole track is about their lack of acceptance within the industry, I take this to mean that the reception for them has been quite cold. But they know that their light is going to shine for a long time. They know that they're going to be hot for a long time, which then leads straight into the noise of the chorus, which I believe, they believe, is exactly the reason why they're going to be around for a long time. This track was full of hidden gems like that, and if I was personally going to introduce somebody to Stray Kids, I might use this as a song. Plus the whole track was just unapologetically them. Even them saying, I'm not sorry, I'm dirty. I'm not sorry, I'm dirty. They're just being unapologetically them. This might be the most Stray Kids song of all. The whole thing is just so on brand. It isn't my favourite Stray Kids track, however, God tier. Side effects. I love that the first flow, it was reminiscent of a Willy Wonka song. And I got that right off the bat. I don't know how many other people heard that or not. And there weren't that many people that commented on me saying that. So I don't know if that was like a unique take on it. However, it definitely sounded like the Willy Wonka song. The drop on this was incredibly intense. And I also like how there were side effect warnings being read out by somebody whilst the chorus was going on and whilst the drop was happening. So it gave you something else to sort of focus on whilst the drop was there. It's again another instance of Stray Kids evolving into something else. The song itself, I never really kind of understood the message, even going back through the lyrics. They are very fractured lyrics. There's no sort of thorough line that runs throughout, apart from the theme of Side Effects, which I understand is the reason for the song.
Money.
I just don't get it. And it doesn't gel with me personally, which is fine. It's fine. Solid effort. Next up is Charmer. I loved how obvious they were about the auto-tune in this song. Usually it's quite delicate, however in this it was so obvious they meant it. The beat genuinely sounded like snake charming. I could even feel myself starting to be charmed. And it was at that moment I realised that they are insane. Plus, Changbin literally lived his ad-libs. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. They said they were charmers, and they charmed me. Felix's deep voice saying, "You can't resist it." How is one supposed to resist? So for those reasons, and so many more, God tier. District 9. So in this, there are beautiful drums. And they're used in the lead into the guitar drop, which we don't usually get. It sounded so organic. The falsetto in the chorus was beautiful. And then the real drop comes and it fits perfectly after the simplicity of the guitar. For me, this song has to be fire.
District 9.
Muddy Water.
Looking back at what you said.
So this is the first time I'd heard Felix, Han, Binny, Hyunjin rapping on a beat, all as one collective. I think this was the first time I really paid attention to Hyunjin's rapping ability too. He's incredibly talented. And I thought he was just a singer-dancer. No. The way that he sings that, feeling so fly, the way he sings that at the end is perfect. Feeling so fly. They were all involved in the chorus too, which on a track that was only 3 minutes long with 4 members, you'd think that'd be difficult, and they made it look easy. Now, I feel a hip-hop beat more than any other. The samples that are always used in it, the 808s, the drums that are used, the snares, kicks, everything about a hip-hop beat to me is perfect, and it paints such a picture. For me personally, the way that the piano in the beginning becomes distorted, it's almost like when the piano started, the camera was watching a kid playing in a puddle, but then the drums come in with a different piano accompaniment. And it almost feels like we've gone into the puddle and we're looking at a reflection of this kid as an older man. And we're being able to see what he's feeling and what he's talking and where his head's at. Changbin makes a Pikachu noise and it sets me on fire. Han also rapped at twice the speed of light and almost blew his own head off. For those reasons and so many more, God tier. Next up is Time Out. I appreciated the production and the direction that they went in with this one, but if you guys have seen my reaction to that song when it dropped, you'll know that this isn't my favourite track. Other than Changbin's rap line before the chorus and Hyunjin's rap verse, this for me personally will always be skippable just because it's not the sort of vibe that I look for personally. It's also not the sort of vibe that I know the Stray Kids for. Just my opinion. Don't hate me if this is your jam. For me, not for me. Next is N/S. And who can forget the dance? Bang Chan's Australian introduction. Iconic. Stray Kids going fast so slow. It kind of reminds me of a skateboarding hip-hop wave that I was on in like 2010, and I was listening to a lot of, you know, Tyler the Creator, Pharrell Williams, a lot of NERD, that sort of stuff. I like it and I appreciate it for what it is, but it's not one of those tracks that I'd go back to. But I appreciate it. So, for that reason, appreciate. Next up, Backdoor. Now this is actually my favourite use of dance music within Stray Kids music. I was really quite taken aback by how much I enjoyed the beat because it was almost like a disco energy and I enjoyed it. It was just good vibes.
You wanna come in?
I loved the creak of the door, followed by a drop that I was genuinely surprised by. And at this point, I've reacted to about 50 Stray Kids songs, and I did Backdoor last week. I'm still being surprised by them. Changbin also elongated his syllables at the end of his bars, just to fit the mood of the song, because the song was a lot more loose and a lot more swaggy, that if he'd have gone staccato on it, it wouldn't have worked the same. The bridge was really nice and it fused very well with the creaking. Like none of it, you would have thought that the noise of a door creaking would be annoying in a song. They made it somehow not annoying. Felix's voice even sounds different in this song. It sounds a lot more croaky. La la la. La la la. For me, it was an absolute banger. Gonna have to put it in the fire. Victory song. Now this is a rare moment where we get the drop right at the beginning. I don't understand why they did that. Felix's first verse intro was brilliant. Possibly the deepest I've ever heard his voice. But the lyrics themselves weren't incredibly stand out, and by the time the drop came, I felt like I'd already heard it and wasn't that surprised by it because we'd heard it in the beginning. So for that reason, for me personally, it's a solid effort. I appreciate it. Solid effort. Domino. Again, not just for the bintro. Lee No's first verse after Changbin's is constantly in my head. The beat matched the title name perfectly because it literally sounds like dominoes were being knocked over, and every time one knocked into another, it was making a different sound. It sounded perfect. It also sounded like Crash Bandicoot theme music, which, if you know the introduction to all of my reactions is the PlayStation 1 theme sound, you'll know how much I love that. And can we get a minute to talk about AKA the Bulldozer? Gets me every time. And as somebody who is from the country that invented drum and bass as a genre, it was beautiful to hear that at the end. With the vocals running throughout drum and bass as well. For these reasons and many, many more, God tier. Easy. Now, the rap lines in this, in my opinion, are the greatest of all of these songs. Han and Hyunjin introduced this perfectly. Changbin's rap line, accentuated by the beat switches, it made this his best performance rapping, in my opinion. He also says just after the beat cuts out, I cast magic in my magical castle. Now the fact that it's cast and magic, and then it says magic castle, but obviously cast is within the bar, but it's within the premise of the word castle. Insane. Also, to get to the difficulty of the second flow, he had to understand that there is no easy thing, which is another thing that he said in the beginning of the other verse. And because there is no easy thing, he's showing you he had to work hard to attain those difficult flows. And that's how he can make it look. Also, there's a legend that says Han wrote this in 15 minutes. Binny also rapped at 8.5 syllables per second. How? The rhythm of the bridge and the hook are incredibly catchy. It was just hit perfectly by each member every single time it was done. The last 30 seconds of beat switching with Felix's vocals were insane. Also, Changbin's last verse flow is the same as his first flow in The Tortoise and the Hare. Easy has been the song that I've gone back to and listened to the most. I've listened to this song so many times. Every time I hear Changbin's rap, I have to go back and listen to it again. Otherwise, I don't feel like I've completed the track. This is my favourite Stray Kids record, personally. My favourite. For those reasons, and again, many, many more. It's going all the way to the top. The top of the top. So that completely concludes this tier list. Of course, I will be doing another one after Maxident drops. Also after I've done a few more songs as well, so that there's going to be more to add to this. I'm going to leave a link in the description as to where I got this tier list from. Just in the hopes that a few of you will sort of make your own tier list and send it to me either on Twitter or Instagram. But that is my tier list as promised. These are just my opinions, so please don't hate me. I'm only human. If you agree, let me know. You disagree, let me know. Both of those, let me know why. If Easy is also your favourite song, please let me know. Thank you all so much for being on this journey with me, and also thank you for watching this. If you've watched it in its entirety, thank you so much. You don't understand how much your viewership means to me personally. You really don't understand. Someday I hope to show you, but you have no idea. Thank you very much for being with me. Teddy Ground stuff. Deuces.